Welcome to this explainer. Today we're tackling a question that's honestly a matter of life and death for our furry family members. How can I create an effective emergency plan for pets? Look, when disaster strikes, chaos is pretty much inevitable. But the panic? That doesn't have to be. We're going to dive straight into a really action-oriented blueprint for making sure your pets, and yep, even large animals, are completely safe when the unexpected happens.
Picture this. You have exactly 10 minutes to evacuate your home. Where's your pet going? Do you have their leash ready to go? Their food? Do you even know if your local emergency shelter accepts dogs or cats? Our pets are our family, and just crossing our fingers and hoping for the best? Yeah, that's simply not an option. Leaving them behind without a solid plan is incredibly dangerous. We really have to prepare for them just like we prepare for ourselves.
So, here's our 5-part roadmap to getting prepared. We'll quickly cover the pet evacuation plan, building the emergency kit, prepping pets for travel, making plans for large animals, and finally staying informed and alert.
All right, jumping right into part 1, the pet evacuation plan. It's all about getting out safely.
Listen to this quote for a second. If you leave your pets behind, they may end up lost, injured, or worse. It's a harsh reality, right? But it really grounds us in exactly why we're doing this. If local officials ask you to evacuate, that means your pet has to evacuate too. You absolutely cannot assume you'll be able to just check into any hotel or walk into a public shelter with an animal, because a lot of them actually do not allow pets inside. You have to figure out your safe places ahead of time.
So how do we actually build this plan? First up, identify those pet-friendly locations right now, way before the storm hits. Next, develop a buddy system. Talk to your neighbors, friends or family, and make a plan so that someone is on standby to evacuate your pets if you're stuck at work. Third, check those microchips. You need to make sure your address and phone number are totally up to date, and this is crucial. Include an emergency contact who lives outside of your immediate area, just in case local cell towers go down. And hey, don't hesitate to reach out to your local animal control for advice that's specific to your area.
Moving on to part 2, building the emergency kit. These are your survival essentials.
A lot of folks get caught totally off guard here because you actually need 2 distinct kits. You need a shelter-in-place kit, which is a larger, heavy-duty stash for when you have to ride out a storm at home. But you also need an evacuation kit. This is a lightweight grab-and-go version designed strictly for mobility when you have to leave suddenly.
Okay, let's break down what actually goes into these kits. You want to keep things fresh and categorized. Under survival basics, pack several days of food in airtight containers, a water bowl, waterproof containers for regular meds, and a vet-approved first aid kit. For gear and sanitation, you're going to want a backup leash, a sturdy carrier for every single pet, and cleaning supplies like paper towels, trash bags, and household chlorine bleach. Finally, for documents and comfort, keep copies of their registration and vet records in something waterproof, and throw in some familiar bedding and toys to help bring their stress levels down.
Now, this next one is super interesting. One of the absolute most important items you can pack is a printed picture of you and your pet together. You might think, oh, that's just for comfort. But no, it's actually a highly practical tool. This photo is the ultimate proof of ownership hack. In the absolute chaos of an evacuation, if you get separated, having a physical picture of the two of you is going to heavily assist you in proving ownership and helping rescue workers identify and return your pet.
Part 3, prepping pets for travel. Let's talk about reducing travel stress.
Look, a lot of our cats and dogs absolutely hate their carriers. They associate them purely with scary trips to the vet. But there's a surprisingly easy behavioral training process to fix this. Step 1. Just leave the carrier out in places your pet naturally hangs out. Step 2. Leave the door open so they can explore it on their own terms. Step 3. Start feeding them treats near the carrier and eventually put a few inside. Finally, toss in their favorite blanket or bed so it smells familiar. Boom, it goes from a scary box to an incredibly safe space.
And here's another incredibly simple but vital tip. Make a mental note of exactly where your pets hide. When a storm rolls in or loud sirens start, animals instinctively bolt under beds, behind couches, or into closets. Knowing their go-to hiding spot ahead of time saves you precious, literal, life-saving minutes when you're trying to gather them up and get out the door fast.
All right, part 4, plans for large animals. This is all about the logistics for the big guys. If you've got horses, pigs, or goats, you know that early preparation is absolutely non-negotiable. First, make sure every single animal has some form of ID. Second, you have to evacuate them much earlier than you would a small pet, so you need to map out your primary and backup routes way in advance.
Third, secure the right trailers and vehicles for the specific animals you have, and arrange for experienced handlers and drivers to be ready to help. Lastly, before you hit the road, confirm that your destination can actually handle them. Make sure they have the adequate food, water, and veterinary care ready to go.
But what if early evacuation simply isn't possible? I mean, wildfires or flash floods can happen so fast. In those cases, owners are forced to make a really tough last-minute decision. Do you move your large animals into a barn, or do you turn them loose outside in a pasture? This choice entirely depends on the specific disaster at hand. You basically have to assess in real time whether a structure is going to offer them protection or if it risks becoming a trap.
Finally, Part 5, Staying Informed and Alert. We're talking alerts and warnings.
You've got to let technology do the heavy lifting to keep you and your pets one step ahead. Pay close attention to those wireless emergency alerts buzzing on your phone from public safety officials. Also, I highly recommend downloading the FEMA app. The coolest thing about this app is that it lets you track National Weather Service alerts for up to 5 different locations anywhere in the U.S. This is absolutely perfect for monitoring the weather, not just at your home, but also where your emergency contacts or your pet-friendly evacuation spots are located.
Which brings us to the golden rule of pet safety. Always bring your pets indoors at the very first sign or warning of a storm. Seriously, do not wait for the weather to get bad. Don't wait until the rain is pouring or the wind is howling to try and coax a terrified animal inside. Secure them indoors the moment a warning is issued, so you have total, complete control of the situation.
So let me leave you with this question. You probably practice fire drills with your family, right? But when is your pet's first drill? Don't let all this information just sit in the back of your mind. Stop procrastinating, go pack that evacuation kit, set up the carrier, and start building your pet's emergency blueprint today. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and hey, stay safe out there.